Hello again, and welcome back to the Sports 2000 podcast. I'm Sue Stockdale, and the host for the series that takes you behind the scenes of this British sports car prototype series that includes Duratec's and Pintos. I talk to some of the people in the Sports 2000 community, giving you an insight into why Sports 2000 is sometimes called Motorsport's best kept secret. Now, in case you missed it, our big news recently was that this podcast was shortlisted for the 2023 Sports Podcast Awards in the Motorsport category, which we were very excited about. And if you want to listen to any of those previous episodes that we've had over the last couple of years, you can find them all at sports2000.co.uk or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I've got a couple of guests I'm speaking to today. First of all, Will Schryver, who's a newcomer to the Pinto Historics category this year and doing very well. And secondly, Clive Staper, who's sponsor and partnership liaison in the club, to tell us about what's going on this year with regards to sponsorship and partnerships. My first guest today is Will Schryver, and we had this conversation at the second round of the Sports 2000 Championships recently at Brands Hatch, where they were one of the supporting races for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe. We are here at Brands Hatch in race 2 of the Sports 2000
We are, yes.
Championship, and you won your class today.
No, I didn't. I tried really hard to be first, but I couldn't quite get the job done. I was up behind John Harmer and we had a good little battle, but I think we were pretty much on the same pace. And around here it's quite difficult to get past. So yeah, didn't quite get the job done today.
Now, you've got quite a distinctive car, haven't you, Will?
Well, it's actually my father's car. So my father and Simon Hadfield bought a couple of Royales from Canada potentially, and this is probably 10 years ago. And when I say bought two cars, bought two scrap heaps, and Simon Hadfield's guys have been restoring them, and I think my first outing in it was about 3 years ago. And fortunately for me, my dad doesn't really get on with it as much as he does some of our other cars, so I've sort of commandeered that one a bit myself. And we went out and did some Thundersport stuff to start with on a different tyre, on an Avon tyre, which, despite the fact of just being a different tyre, very different to the Yokohama tyre we use. So I did about 3 or 4 races in the HSCC Thundersports, and then felt that, you know, the competition was in the Sports 2000 Championship. And when I got brave enough and confident enough, yeah, we moved over and here we are.
Now, what's your background before Sports 2000 in terms of driving? Because I know way back, I think 2012, you were driving in the film Rush, am I right?
Yeah, I've done a fair bit of racing. I started racing quite late because Dad went, yeah, as soon as you can pay for it, you can come and race. So I think I started racing Formula Fords when I was about 24 or 25. And then I started driving some of his cars. And basically, yeah, I've been driving on and off for probably best part of 15, 16 years now. And I started instructing, and I've got a lot of friends who race. And we ended up doing some stunt driving. So I did drive a 6-wheel Tyrrell for the film Rush, and I think I did Transformers and a few other various sort of things. And funny enough, my career is in the film industry, and that actually spawned me to move from being an instructor, that's how I was making a living, and actually moved into the film world after doing the stunt driving, because I worked out there's probably more money to be made in the film world than in sitting in the passenger seat of a Ferrari on someone's experience day. So yeah, that's sort of where I ended up. But yeah, I've been racing for a long time, various things, and really enjoying it.
And when you are in the film world now, as you say, what is it that you're doing in that?
We hire out equipment to the film industry. Funny enough, I started making films about racing cars. So I had a lot of friends in the motorsport industry. And funny enough, the Fanatec race we're supporting this weekend, I've worked with a lot of those teams, and my company's produced promo videos and that sort of thing. But we sort of veered across, and basically we hire very specialist robotic and slow motion camera equipment to film in the commercial industry. And that's what I do when I'm not here. I would like to still be filming cars, but unfortunately the wife and kids don't allow me to travel the world and go and do all these lovely races that I used to. So actually, as of this year, I've sort of stopped doing that. So last year I worked for United Autosport and did Le Mans, and I was out at the beginning of this year with WRT to buy 24 Hours, producing these promo films for them. But now, yeah, we focus mainly on hiring out equipment into the film industry, and that's sort of where we've ended up now.
So it's good to get that sense of background. It seems like being at a race circuit sounds like a second home to you.
Oh, 100%. Funny enough, my father's here, and we've just gone up and watched the qualifying, and, you know, I can remember being here. He brought me here to see Senna. There's some debate about what age I was, but we can't quite work it out. But yeah, I've been here and my father's been racing. I think he started racing in 81. I was born in 81, so I've pretty much spent my life at racetracks, and I tried to build a career around it at one point and enjoy racing. And yeah, it's just one of those things that unfortunately it costs so much money to go racing that, yeah, it's a bit tricky. But yeah, I've been at racetracks my whole life.
So at least you can appreciate and enjoy it, even if you're not always able to race yourself. You're around that industry.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, getting an opportunity, funny enough, we were working with WRT. They had Valentino Rossi, Christopher Mies and Dries Van Voor and all these wonderful professional drivers. And just to be, you are a fly on the wall holding a camera, but just to be around it and see how a high-end team operates. And United Autosport the same, running at Le Mans with an LMP2 car, seeing the way they work and the level of it, it's wonderful. And also you're a bit like, you spend the whole time going, oh God, I really wish I could do this. And then suddenly you're at the back end of brands in an easy up with your Sports 2000. But I'm having probably just as much fun as they are. It's just we don't have quite as much, our hospitality truck isn't quite as big, put it that way.
And watching then, being that fly on the wall and seeing how those professional drivers operate, what has rubbed off on you? Anything about some of their behaviours or approaches to things that you think, I should do that as well?
I don't know. It's weird. Funny enough, I was talking to Nick Hyatt, actually. I think he's only been racing a few years and he's probably started a bit in his 30s maybe or in his late 20s. I can't remember exactly what he said. And I was the same. All my friends, they karted and they did junior formulas and they were racing from, dot, whereas I started racing at 25. And I think the difference is when you are fortunate enough to be able to race, but you might be racing your father's cars, or if you're lucky enough to get sponsors, you tend to drive around with a sort of, I can't break anything, I'm just happy to be here. So you just drive around being a bit sort of like, yeah, I'm quick when I get it together, but, I'm not really winning races. And it's funny because Nick I was chatting to seemed to have a very similar sort of viewpoint where he's at. He's just happy to be here and just seeing that. And what I have learned, being around the pro drivers, there's no time to mess around. Every corner counts. I think I interviewed Augusto Farfus ages ago and he was racing for Mark VDS at Spa 24 Hours. This is a 24-hour race, endurance race, not even a 20-minute sprint race. He said you can't just go out there and drive around. Every second, every corner, everything counts. And it's that sort of mentality where I think if you come into racing a bit late and it's a bit of a hobby, none of us are professionals, we're all just having fun. But if you have that mentality, even at the level we're at, even at sort of just having fun, you're probably not going to win. You really have to gear yourself up to go, no, do you know what? I'm going to go as hard as I can from the second the lights go out or the second in qualifying. I'm in my 40s now, and I'm possibly driving better now than I ever have done before because I'm a bit older. I've sort of, if something breaks, I probably now might be able to afford to fix it. And also, I only get to race sort of 3 or 4 times a year. My children do a lot of sport, so weekends are hard to come by where I can just disappear off and leave my wife and 3 kids to go racing. So you've got to maximise it. And there's no time. If you do go off or you do have an accident, so be it. It's almost, as you get a bit older and you start caring less, and I'm assuming the professionals are the same, it's almost that, it's not a win it or bin it mentality. But it is come on, you've got 3 goes at this year or 4 races. Give it 110%. Maybe don't have that glass of wine with dinner every night the week leading up to the race. Maybe visit the gym, maybe just try and get yourself a little bit so that when you go out in qualifying, you're ready to go straight away. It's not a gradual build through the race weekends. You go out and you're on it lap 1. And I think probably seeing the other teams and the other drivers, that's what they have to be like. And the pressure for them being professionals, where someone's paying them to do it, it must be a nightmare. But yeah, it's just trying to get, I think, that more sort of mindset. Head down, get on with it.
And do you think seeing those other professionals this weekend has amped up that mindset for you so that you can see the benchmark and think, okay, right, I want to be like that in the Sports 2000?
I wish, no. I mean, the fact I came second, no, probably not. The trouble is racing is tricky. You can turn up at a racetrack and suddenly everything feels right. And just everything you do just works. And this track, we had been here a couple of times at the Sports 2004 in the Thunder Sports. It just, for whatever reason, it feels good and we're obviously doing all right, but it just doesn't feel on the money. And I think that's sometimes the trouble with racing. You have one weekend where you can do no wrong. Everything just feels amazing. And you can go to the next track and it's all right, but it doesn't feel great. So I don't think you can take the inspiration from the pros here. Today wasn't quite our day. I mean, we're there, but I think we maybe need to try a little bit harder for tomorrow.
And what other races are you planning to do this season then?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think I can do every round of the Sports 2000 Championship, which is a bit upsetting because obviously I'm very new to it and I've really enjoyed it, and everyone involved is so welcoming and so nice, and I've had some great battles and everyone's driven really, really well. It's just a great place to be. And funny enough, I was literally just talking about how being a bit disappointed that I can't do the whole season. I'm hoping to do maybe 1 or 2 more rounds, but I race Lotus Elan in HSCC with my father, and we go out to Spa and do the Spa 6 hours in September. So I think there's an HSCC round here when we're supposed to be at Donington, and I think the team are all here, so I think I'm going to have to miss that one. So to answer your question, I think probably a couple of rounds Elan in the HSCC, just to prep for Spa, and hopefully get a couple more rounds in the Sports 2000. And maybe, if I can get it out there, take the Sports 2000 out to Spa, because I believe there's a German championship, a Can-Am championship, which I think takes Sports 2000, because I don't think it's for winning or anything, but just to be able to drive the Sports 2000 around Spa, I think would be great.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Now, you mentioned your father a few times. What's his name?
My father's name is Michael Schryver. I think when he was sort of my age, I think he was winning Formula 2 races, and I think he then won Formula 1 TGA Thoroughbred Grand Prix Championship as it was before sort of Masters took it over, and he's a member of the BRDC, so he's got quite a good past, especially in historic racing.
That sounds like quite a formidable partnership between the two of you then.
Well, yeah, if we got on, it would be better. No, it's all right. I think, weirdly, we've raced together for a number of years and shared cars together, and it's only, I hope you won't be too upset when I say this, I think we're now tipping into the point where I'm comfortably quicker than him, and Dad's probably in his mid-70s, and it's taken all that time. 10 years ago, I would really struggle to out-qualify him in most things we've driven. So, it's taken me an awful lot of work to catch him up. And we do have some good races. But, the thing is with motor racing, like a lot of things, is it's come on a long way. Some races you can just roll your car out the back of a trailer and go and win, but then especially in the historic world and with the things like the Elans, there's a lot of people spending a lot of money developing them, and so sometimes that can be as much of the battle as your driving ability, as being able to make the car as fast as it can be. It can be as much of a battle as how good you are around the circuit.
Yeah, of course it's car and driver and both.
Yeah, you have to get both on the money to get the job done, really.
What's your favourite circuit that you've driven at?
Good question. Weirdly, I think it all depends on what car you're in and what circuit. I think probably my favourite circuit's Spa. I don't know if it's my favourite ultimate driving circuit, because I don't think I've ever driven anything with enough power and speed to really maximise Spa. But it's just such a great place to go, and it's such a huge track, and we mainly do the Spa 6 hours at the end of each year, and it's such a wonderful event. So if I could only do one race each year, it'd probably be that one. Finally,
Will, if you could drive any car, what would be your dream car to drive and race?
Oh, I think any of these GT3 cars are out here right now. Weirdly, now I'm in a Sports 2000, which I guess would have been sort of the sports car. You've obviously got your Formula Fords, which is your first step to Formula 1 and single-seaters. And I'm assuming the Sports 2000 was sort of your first step into sports cars to go and do Le Mans and things like that. But I've never really, the whole prototype thing, they all look a bit too fast and a bit too scary for me. But yeah, a GT3 car, any of these ones out right now, yeah, I think that would be fantastic.
Wonderful. It's been fantastic to speak to you today, Will. I wish you all the best in whatever other races you do this year, and Spa as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Will. It was great to hear what he had to say. And now on to my second guest, Clive Steeper. Now, Clive, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you very much for the invitation.
Now, with our racing season already begun, I'd love you to tell us about what's happening this season, 2023, with regards to the Sports 2000 sponsors and partners.
It would be great to do that. It's been a really tough winter getting sponsorship, but we're delighted that the motorsport trade partners that we have are Varley, who provide batteries, race parts, who provide components all around the race car, and VMEP, who provide all sorts of setup and pit equipment. And then, of course, we have one of our anchor people, KJG Photography, who keep all those lovely photos of us as we're out on the racetrack. In addition, we have new sponsors for 2023. In the Duratec Championship, we have BS Burners Limited, who are a specialist in industrial combustion and offer a complete service. And that's thanks to David Gorst, one of the Duratec drivers. And then in historics, we have Apsley House Capital PLC, who are sponsoring the Historic Championship. And that again is thanks to Ross Hyatt, who's one of the leading competitors, along with his two sons. And Apsley are joint developers of a number of properties and apartments in Birmingham and the Bristol City area. Now, let's not also forget that we have two other key sponsors and partners. One is MSV, who without them we wouldn't be able to race on a number of great circuits in the UK. And then finally, Yokohama, who provide us with the tyres that we go racing on. And this is a special year for us with Yokohama. It's our 25th anniversary, and arguably is probably one of the longest associations between a club and a tyre company.
Well, that's pretty impressive, Clive. It's a very long list of sponsors that you have there, and they're so important, of course, to the success of the championship. Now, I understand, Clive, in race 2 at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix meeting on the 14th of May this year, there was an unfortunate accident at Paddock Bend just after turn 1. Tell me, how are the drivers doing?
Thankfully, they're doing very well. Still battered and bruised, but they're both at home and recovering. They have no broken bones. As you say, it was an unfortunate incident. Mike Turner spun, and Peter Brewer, who was in a pack of other cars, was unsighted and ended up colliding into Mike Turner's car. But now everything, as I say, is sorted. The one issue that they've both got, the challenge is to repair their cars. I've spoken to both of them and they are keen to get their cars repaired, and hopefully we'll see them back out on the circuit within a few race meetings. And I'm sure everybody listening will join me in wishing both Mike and Peter a great and speedy recovery.
Yeah, well, it's lovely to hear that they're recovering well, Clive. And of course, listener, you can listen to an episode that I recorded with Mike Turner and also with Peter Brewer in previous editions of the podcast. If you want to keep connected with the Sports 2000 community, you can do so on social media through Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Next time, I'll be talking to Charlie Hyatt and Nick Hyatt to find out how they are following in the footsteps of their father Ross, who I spoke to in episode 8. I hope you can join me then.